So I got a question. Actually, I got a bunch of questions for you today. Do you ever feel like you're running in circles, like your whole life is just going round and round? Like you started going in one direction and you end up in a totally different place than where you were headed? Hey! You three back there, I tell you. Kind of like this message. Already, we're 3 seconds into the message and we've already gone full circle. We're going to start all over again. But think about it. Do you ever feel like you're going in circles, like your life is just going round and round? You can't seem to hit where you're aiming or where you're trying to go? You ever realize you're not alone in that? Everyone here is doing that. Especially the little one back here. She goes in circles. I watched her. When the Israelites left Egypt, when they were freed from Egypt, they went in circles. Now, God told them to do something, and He says, I want you to go into the land of Canaan. I want you to take over the land. This land is yours. Go and do. Well, Moses sent out 12 scouts to scout out the land. They spent 40 days in the land. And they're looking around, they're looking at all the people, looking at all the promised things. And they come back. And he says, we can't do it. We can't go over there. Those people are giants next to us. We feel like a grasshopper. We are so tiny compared to that. 2 men stood their ground and says, yes, God said we can do this. We can do it. It was Joshua and Caleb. They tore their clothes in anguish as everyone else says, no, we can't do it. And the whole nation of Israel said, nope, we're not doing it. So God says, okay, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do what I told you to do and walk across the border and take the land that I have given you. Well, your scouts spent 40 days there, so now you're going to spend 40 years walking the desert, walking the wilderness. And that's what they did. He said, I'll wait you out. Your nation as a whole will not receive the promise that I've given. However, I will allow your children to have it. You want to disobey me, you want to say no when I've given you a gift, fine. This is your punishment. You will walk in the wilderness for 40 years. You will walk in a circle for 40 years. And every time you pass, you'll want to go over. Lord, we want to go now. And I'm going to say, nope. Keep going. And that's what we're going to pick up. 40 years after they say no, we're going to pick up in Joshua 5, verses 6 through 8. The Israelites had traveled in the wilderness for 40 years until all men who were old enough to fight in battle when they left Egypt had died. For they had disobeyed the Lord, and the Lord vowed He would not let them enter the land He had sworn to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Joshua circumcised their sons, those who had grown up and take their father's places, for they had not been circumcised on the way to the promised land. After all the males had been circumcised, they rested in the camp until they were healed. So, all the men, the whole generation that was old enough to fight, had died off. Those that were old enough to fight when they left Egypt had now died off. Their children, who had not exactly followed the customs of their traditions, were uncircumcised. So when Joshua stood on the border and he said, okay, we're going to go and we're going to claim what God has given us. He said we're still allowed to claim it, but we have to do it. Your fathers are not allowed. So as a symbol of obedience to God, which is part of the old covenant, He circumcised all the men. He cut a piece away. He said, God, we are yours. We belong to you. You promised our ancestors that we could have this land. We are giving ourselves to you. Now, as I said, Joshua and Caleb were the only two that were allowed to enter the promised land from the previous generation. And they were allowed to live out the rest of their life there, because they obeyed what God had told them. But they also had to endure the punishment. They had to walk in circles for 40 years. I want to pause and think about that for a second. We look at our brothers and sisters who are sinning, and we're quick to point the finger, but we don't realize we get to join in their punishment as well. When they do things against God and we don't speak up, we get to walk that circle with them. God will bring us around full circle, but it may not be in the time that we wish it would be. But why do they have to walk the circle? Why did they disobey what God had told them? They were afraid. It was fear. They were totally afraid of going and facing the giants that lived on the other side. They were totally afraid of stepping out of their comfort zone to doing something that they thought they couldn't do, even though God promised them. They were afraid to take a risk. So instead of risking a little and living a lot, they lived a lot and had nothing. They had life. They got to walk in a circle for 40 years. They had life, but what life was that? It was a life of a nomad. They didn't have a place to call home. They just kept going around, taking another lap, because they were afraid. What are you afraid of? What is God telling you? What has He told you in your life that you are to do, that you have said no to because of fear? Whether it be fear of failure, fear of going against the grain, fear of change. Yeah, that's a fear. What has God been pouring into you and you've been saying no to? Because, well, if I do this, people are going to look at me funny. If I say yes to this, they're not going to understand because it goes against what they think we're supposed to be doing or what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to look odd. So we're afraid of other people's opinions. We're afraid of so many minuscule things. God told us to do something. So you're content to walk around in circles. Because He said, I want you to do this. I'm not ready for that. I'm good. No, thank you. So how long are you going to walk in a circle before you answer God and say, okay, I was dumb. I'm not listening. Because our punishment, yeah, He's going to make us walk in circles like the Israelites did. But He's cut that time down for us. We keep saying no. We can stop the merry-go-round and say, hey, Lord, I want to trust you. I want to look to God. I want to look to Christ. I want to follow His direction. I want to walk like He did. Please guide me. We can stop that merry-go-round, and we can get off, and we can walk. But we got to get rid of our fear. Because once that 40 years was up, Joshua circumcised the men, claiming that we are now part of your nation again. We want to be your children. You are our master, we obey. You are our God, our King. So in that, what are we willing to, or what do we need to cut out of our life? What sin do we have to remove? Paul says we have to circumcise our heart. It's not a piece of flesh anymore that we need to circumcise. It's our heart. It's our spirit. What are we dragging around? What sins are in our life? We might not even know them. We might not realize what they are. But what sins are we hanging on to because of comfort, because of pride, because of whatever? I'm going to back up. What sins are we hanging on to because of pride? That can be that can be multiple directions. But because of our pride, we hang on to things because we don't want people to know. We don't want people to know that we're broken. We don't want people to know that we have issues. So we hide that because of our pride. We don't step out and show ourselves. We don't show who we are because we're too proud as a people. That was indoctrinated into us growing up, especially here in America. We're too proud to say that we follow anything. We are the boss. That's our right. I agree. God has given us those rights. However, when we put those rights above God, we are now putting something intangible above our Lord and Savior. So what in our lives do we need to remove? What do we have to take out? And it's sometimes painful to remove that sin. Sometimes it's something that has to come out in the open that people never knew about you before. That it's like a really bad Band-Aid that just has to come off. Now you're exposed. It can be painful. But what do you have to get rid of? What do you have to let go? And when you let go, there was something else that Joshua and the men did. After they did the circumcision, they rested. They sat down and they rested until their bodies were healed before they could go fight. Now, that word rest came from my lips. Yes, I see chuckling here. I don't know if it was because of that or something else, but that word rest came from my lips. Something that I am not very good at doing. And I've acknowledged that many times over. But I've never really looked at it. Most of you have known me for at least 2 years. A little over 2 years. Some of you have known me for a lot longer. When do you ever hear me say, I'm taking a day off, I'm going to rest, I'm going to relax? Hardly ever, if ever. For the first time that I can remember, this past Wednesday, I got up, I got ready, I was ready to start working the day, and in the back of my head, all I could hear was, sit down, spend some time with me. Sit down, I want to talk to you. So the first time in a long time, I chose to make a decision and sit down and rest. House didn't get clean, dishes didn't get done. Can't remember if I cooked dinner. I think I did. But I just stopped everything. I picked up one of my books, I read a little bit, I read some scriptures, and I just chilled. Sat down in my chair, put on Netflix and watched a couple shows, and just kind of, I vegged for an entire day. I rested. Something I never do. And as I was sitting there, and God was speaking to me, He's saying, you preach discipleship. You preach leading by example. What example have you shown by not resting like I've told you to do? Because my definition of rest was run and run and run until my body literally shut down. I've had points where my heart was beating so fast because it didn't really know what to do. That if you've ever heard not heard, but seen a pump cavitating, it's trying to pump water, but it's got an air pocket, it's not going anywhere. That's what my heart felt like it was pumping, but no blood was going anywhere. I would literally pass out. My vision would go blurry, my speech would slur. Some of you have witnessed that. I've pushed myself so far into exhaustion Because I had too much pride in myself to obey what God was telling me. Something I never realized I had. And I'm being totally honest. I had a pride in myself to be there for everyone, anytime, any place. You call me, I'm out the door. That does not change. I will be there for you, but there's a point in life where I need to say, whoa, I will be there, but I need to take a break. So Wednesday, I took my break. I stopped. Thursday, I was kind of groggy. My body wasn't sure what to do. But I had some running to do. I had an appointment here. I had an appointment somewhere else. So I jumped back into my routine. Friday morning, because I had this weird sensation all day Thursday. It was like my body doesn't know what to do with this little bit of energy that I got. Friday morning, I was ballistic. I was bouncing off the walls. I was dancing through the house. I had worship going. I was just having a blast, spending time with God. Some of you might have seen my Facebook post when God won't shut up and the coffee ran out. Because God is just laying it on. You haven't listened, you haven't done this, and it felt like one of those old cartoons when someone was talking, or listening to Paige or Marcy. As they're in overdrive with Mountain Dew. But I felt like my brain was going to explode. God was just laying it all out there. He goes, I told you on Wednesday, you need to be the example. You're setting a poor example. Just like the Israelites said no to me, you've said no to me and I've made you run in circles. You were chasing your tail for the last 2 years because you wouldn't slow down and take a break. That's exactly how I felt. Like I was chasing my tail. And I realized a bad example of what a disciple is supposed to be, of who God is. Because even Jesus rested. He took a nap on a ship that was being tossed and turned in a storm, where everyone thought they were going to die. He goes and lays down on a bench and goes, I could do that. The point is, though, it was something that was ingrained in me as a child. My dad, it was Robbie listening. My dad, he worked his tail off. I remember my dad would get up and he would leave in the morning. I'd hear the truck start and he'd take off. 10 o'clock at night, I'd hear it coming back. He was working a double or whatnot. He was always working. And he took us. We had family functions, we'd go. But my dad had an ability that I don't have. It didn't matter where we were, he'd find a place to fall asleep. Whether it was sitting in a lawn chair by the swimming pool, someone throws a bucket of water on him, learn not to do that. Or whether we were at a family function and my dad just disappeared, we find him sprawled across the back seat of the car. He could just find a place and go to sleep. But he had that exhaustion. That exhaustion that was ingrained in me to go and do and continue, don't stop. I'm telling you, that's something that's ingrained in all of us. We have such a fast-paced life that we run and we run and we run, and we never take time to spend time with God. We never take time to rest and hear what He has to say. We'll throw up a prayer from time to time. We'll say, Lord, we need you. Okay, we'll talk to you later. And we're back out going. We never took the time to listen to what He had to say. So, when He says to rest, it's to rejuvenate us. To give us strength. To clear our head. When Adam and Eve were in the garden, God would come and spend time with them. He would walk with them in the garden. He didn't run through the garden. He didn't say, oh, you didn't pick this, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. He says, come walk with me. Talk with me. Be with me. Find rest in me. When did we become better than God where we don't need rest? Even God took a day of rest. He didn't need it, He enjoyed it. He took a day to look around and enjoy what He had created, what was around Him. When was the last time you took that pause to enjoy what's around you? To enjoy your family, to enjoy the outdoors, to enjoy whatever? We need to quit saying no. We need to circumcise the sin on our heart. We need to rest. Then we can do the work of God. We can do the work we were called to do. We can go out and make disciples like He told us to do. We're supposed to be a mirror image, but if we're not the mirror image of God, who are we the mirror image of? Society. Society has made our nation, our world, the way it is. It's time that we go back to what God's blueprint was. And that's Christ. To take a rest. To live life pure and holy. And it's painful. You lose a lot in it. You lose comfort. But you gain peace. You may lose friends, but you gain life. Fear of the unknown is not a reason to disobey what God has told us. We talked about faith a couple of weeks ago. If we believe and trust in what God has told us, and He tells us to do something and we say no, there's no possible way you have faith. None. Because you still have fear. You're still banking on what society says can't happen. We can't walk around our lives. We can't live in a world of fear and succumb to that fear if we are supposed to be a beacon of light. Marcy shared a story with me last night. While they were at the competition yesterday, the security guard was sharing a story. And I do believe the security guard is also a policeman.
He was a public police officer.
Okay. Sharing a story about this guy. He kicks in the door, or shoots the door with a shotgun. Shoots at his family sitting on the couch. And not one of the people in his family were hit by the shotgun shell, which spreads. It's the whole way around them, but never touched them. And he was sitting there debating. His first response was, it was God, like God put His hand over them. And then he was debating that answer, saying, well, that will never hold up in law, in court. There's no way I can show that. You have physical proof. You have pictures of an outline that those kids were not touched, that his wife was not touched. He has physical proof, yet cannot see God because of fear of what society will say. How many of us claim God but fear walking with Him? How many of us claim to know Him but fear taking the path that He's given us? So we disobey and we go the easy route. We sit here and claim it, but that's it. We don't live it. We don't walk it. It's, look at me, I go to church. Punch my time clock. But when was the last time you walked out and applied what you learned and shared it with someone else? Lived with them? It's time that we obey what God has to say. Drop the fear. Circumcise our hearts. Rest. And move. And repeat. That's what we forget. We'll cut one piece out and we're like, all right, I'm good. A couple weeks later, why am I still not moving? Well, you didn't take this piece out. Or you didn't take that piece out. But I took this piece out. Well, there's more to it. You remove one piece, one sin from your life, but we are a sinful people. We need to work to get rid of it all. Like I said, it's painful. Nobody said life was easy. Nobody said you'll go through it with no pain. But in order to obey our God, or obey our King, we need to listen. That's the biggest part of obeying. Listening and following through. What do you need to cut out? What merry-go-round do you need to get off of? What path has He placed in front of you? And what do you have to lose if you obey? Think about that. If we obey God and what His directions are for us, what do you have to lose? Think about that as we pray. Lord, we come to you this morning and I just ask your blessing upon each and every one of us. I ask that you hear the pain and the cries of our heart as we sit here and we realize, Lord, that we're disobeying you, that we're not listening to what you have to say. We're walking in circles because of our own pride, our own disobedience, Lord. I ask you to wipe us clean, to remove that sin from our lives, to remove that anger, that disbelief, whatever it might be, remove it from us. Let us walk with you. Lord, let us take a moment out of our lives and enjoy what you've given us, what you've created. Only then can we really see what you're trying to tell us. So, Father, I lift up this prayer and I ask for guidance and understanding. I ask for wisdom in all that we do. Lord, I ask it in the name of Christ. Amen.